For today's lesson, I did want us to kind of look at R J Palacio's novel Wonder. So we're only going to look at some segments of it, like the excerpts, just specifically like how they use language, things like that. So you might have done the novel in class already. It's a pretty popular book, but I have just put a synopsis here, and I can read that right now, just so we kind of know, what type of text we're looking at, right? So Wonder is about August, or in the text they name him Augie Pullman, a boy who was born with a facial difference that makes him look very different from other children. Because of many surgeries, he has never gone to a regular school until now. So by the end of the book, Augie has faced challenges with courage, and at graduation, he is awarded a medal for his strength and kindness. He realizes that even though people stared at him at first, he has found true friends and earned respect for being himself. Now, this book, I've chosen it because it has a lot of language and sort of like descriptions on this like idea of emotional intelligence, right? Like, how do you think a boy like Augie would have felt going to school looking a little bit different, right? So I just think it's a really great way to really engage with ways we can use language and see, how can we kind of tell people how we feel without directly telling them. So this idea of show not tell, which we've sort of explored in the past few weeks as well, right? So I've kind of just listed an example here. Try and read through this excerpt. It's not too long. I did put just like a comment here, right? So this idea of, I guess, and I feel ordinary inside, right? So even just like small things like short sentences, we see that when they're used, it changes the tone of the narrator. So if we're working on this together, I would ask you and I would say, if you look at this short sentence, do you think Augie is feeling really excited right now about the type of person or the type of boy he wants to be? And I'd say for the most part, we might say no, not really, right? So what types of feelings might he be feeling? It could be something like doubt. Maybe he's quite insecure, right? I know that if I was talking to my friends and I was kind of giving them very short responses, I would sound a bit hesitant, right? And I wouldn't sound very confident or self-assured. So I want us to really pay attention to the types of ways they're using language here, right? And, as you read on, they're going to say things like, I ride my bike, I play ball, I have an Xbox. These are all signs or clues that the author is giving us that although Augie does very ordinary activities like every other student, it does not always mean that he feels ordinary on the inside, right? So even just short descriptions that we see here, we can see that the author is trying to give us a message each time she describes Augie's life or each time Augie describes himself in this novel. Yes? So try and read through that. It's not too long. I've put, just that excerpt there, and also an excerpt of when he arrives at school for the first time. Now, because Augie has been homeschooled for so long, this excerpt is really going to open us up to the ways that he might be feeling, right? So even just this first line, being at school was awful in the beginning, right? And I want you to sort of highlight or pick out certain lines where you can feel that Augie is not very welcomed, right? So for example, I'd catch a kid elbowing his friend as they passed me. Imagine, seeing some kids elbow each other. What do you think they're doing, right? Does that make you feel comfortable? Maybe a bit uneasy, right? Especially if they're looking directly at you. It might feel like they're talking about you, right? And you can see how, we're kind of thinking about these ideas without Augie telling us directly that they're gossiping about me. He's more so describing the environment around him. So I want you to really think about that as you read, and so that when we do write or comprehend text, we sort of know like the way language can be used. Yes. And then I've kind of put those questions down there as well if you sort of forget to like pay attention to that. So you can always revisit the excerpt. Think about, how does the narrator feel? Augie is the narrator in this novel so far, in this chapter at least. Think about how he feels, even though he's not telling us directly that he's sad or that he's a bit lonely. What are some signs or clues that we can find there? How do we know they're feeling this way, right? Again, highlight those certain lines where they are showing that they might feel that way, right? And then this is our little brainstorm. If we were working together, I would prefer us to also try and write it in full sentences together, just to make sure that when we're writing, it's nice and clear as well, and that, it's not just a little like brainstorm. All right. Now, when it comes to show not tell, it can be a bit hard through the excerpt because it is written in Augie's perspective, which means he is using very simple language. So if you want to upskill yourself, which I highly encourage you to, I have put up this YouTube video here for you. And if you might have seen the movie, but it's just the clip where he first goes to school, right? And I want you to just watch that clip. It's only around 6 minutes. It's not too long. Have a look at it, and what you can do, I want you to just write in full sentences describing what types of mannerisms he is displaying. So, for example, if Augie is scared, what might he be doing with his hands? Do you think he's standing upright really confidently? And if not, then how is he standing? So you might write, as Augie walked through the school, his back was hunched, showing that he might be very wary of students watching him, right? And I've also put another example here that you can look at. As Augie pulled the astronaut helmet away from his face because he was wearing a helmet the whole time, he immediately started to look around, right? So imagine I'm taking off my helmet, and the moment I take it off, I'm going, right? I'm looking around, right? So we clearly know that Augie's feeling a little bit nervous. He's wary of revealing what was behind the cover or beneath the cover of his astronaut helmet. Right? So simple observations like that, I want you to notice them, because once you are able to notice these mannerisms, we can kind of mirror that into our own writing as well when we create our own characters, right? Okay, now I do have a little bit of an extended task here. I don't expect it to be perfect, but we did do that one pure paragraph together, and I think you did really well. So I do encourage you to really try and complete this paragraph here. This is going to be your only structured response for this whole lesson. So I have put some sentence starters to make it a little bit easier for you. So this question that we're going to look at is, why do you think the author chose a school setting for the story instead of only focusing on Augie's home life? Right? So if we were together, I would really get us to consider, what is the difference between school and home, right? Do you just think about yourself as well? School is a place with so many students, and you're going to meet so many people, right? And, does that always make you feel like safe or really confident? Maybe. I feel like school can be a very daunting place sometimes for young people, because you don't really know like who's on your side, who's on your team. Is everyone a good person? We're not really sure. Okay, so I want you to think about that, this idea of pressure, many other ideas, right? This idea of like even bullying, or, not all students will understand how they can talk kindly to others, right? Whereas at home, you're with your family who loves you, you're with people who understand you, and you have this safety of privacy. So by choosing a school setting, what does the author sort of reveal to us, right? They might be revealing these really hard truths that they want us to challenge as people. Okay, so for example, like a harsh truth that kindness cannot just be found anywhere. That might be something you want to think about when we answer this question of why would they choose a school setting instead of just focusing focusing within his home life, right? Now, look, this is not easy at all. It's not an easy task, and I would have preferred to work with you on this, but I have seen you write that last full paragraph before, and I think you can try and do it, especially with some of these sentence starters and clues for you there. If you do struggle, it's okay, because we will come back together next week, hopefully, and work on it, right? But just again, this idea of our point. So just really addressing the question in wonder. The author chooses, and you can continue that, right? A school setting because they want to show that, school pressures are universal, right? Or school pressures are really influencing Augie's emotions, right? Like, because he has all of these people watching him, that gives him a reason to feel self-conscious. But imagine a world where we're all alone, we're all private. There's not really much reason to worry about what people think, right? So think about that idea of school exposing you, right? For example, you can choose a quote from the excerpt, but I don't mind if you just describe the character as well. So if you're writing here, I put an example there. For example, you can just describe it the way I have. The author uses the environment of a school because there's a lot of social pressure to fit in. And because Augie doesn't look like everyone else, he is challenged to be strong, right? So even just describing the scene or the evidence, I'm happy with that for now because this is a little bit of an extended task. But try your best to challenge yourself if you do believe you can do it. I highly encourage it. Okay. And then, yeah. And we have a little bit of an explanation cue here. So you can talk about, just further elaborate why is school different from home, right? Why would the author use school instead of a home, right? And because a home is private, Augie has no reason to feel self-conscious, nor would he ever realize what type of world he is living in if he just stayed at home. Yeah. And then for our link, therefore, I just want you to restate your ideas, right? So if your idea is that the author wants to show us the realities of social pressure and school, you can just say therefore and restate that, right? Try and reword it in ways that you can. But again, this is a really difficult task, and it might be really hard to try and attempt alone. So try your best. I have tried to give you as many clues as I can, but if not, we will see each other next week anyways. But yeah, Audrey, if you have any questions, you can definitely get in touch if they're really urgent. But if not, I will go through this next week as well, wherever we can. But yeah, I hope that was okay.